What news is happening in China?
Today?
Yeah.
What is the news?
The typhoon.
I haven't
the flooding.
watched. Yeah, the flooding.
All right, we're starting in 5 seconds. Please quiet on the set. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone, welcome to our China American Bridge Show program today.
I'm Sean Savage,
I'm Yulan Zhang.
and we are here to bring you China America Bridge. This program is about creating understanding and creating the knowledge and friendship between the countries of America and China. And one of the things that we're going to do is talk about some of the news in China today. Did you hear about the big flooding in southern China?
What's going on?
Well, there was a typhoon Uyghur or something like that that came in and dumped a lot of rain in southern part of China, and something like 14, 15 people have died already.
That's very unfortunate.
Yes, yes. And so our hearts go out to the people of southern China and the flooding. You know, hope the weather gets better, but that's in southern China in the summer it rains, right?
Well, unfortunately, and sometimes flood actually in my hometown country, Wuhan, it has been happened quite a few years ago, and it was very urgent emergency at that time. But unfortunately, we all work hard together, and we overcome the hard times.
Great. Okay, well, let's start the show. Our guest today is Dr. Meru. She is the head of the Confucius Institute here in Portland. And I will let her explain what exactly the Confucius Institute is. Let's welcome Meru. Hello, Meru.
Hey, hello, 你好.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. Thank you for inviting me.
走吧.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So Meru, you are the head of the Confucius Institute here in Portland. Can you explain a little bit about what the Confucius Institute is?
Well, Confucius Institute, all over the world, in general, a picture, they are to promote the Chinese language and culture in non-Chinese speaking countries. Right now, worldwide, we have several hundred Chinese Confucius Institute. And then the headquarters is in Beijing, China. And in the United States, we have, I believe right now is about 95 Confucius Institute, and at different institutions, mostly established at university level. And it's the joint program by the Hanban, the headquarters of the Confucius Institute, and the hosting universities. And the hosting university will provide a director and staff members, and Hanban, the headquarters back in Beijing, will send the teachers to support and help teach the Chinese language and culture.
Oh, excellent. You see, when I was in China, I went to Xiamen University, and that was
beautiful place. I was there 2010, gorgeous.
Very nice. You know, I used to go out on the beach at night.
Oh yeah.
Very nice. But the southern China headquarters of the Confucius Institute was there.
I know, it's at Xiamen University. They have a headquarters. 3 years ago, I was there to attend one of the training programs in the summer. It was beautiful. However, it was very hot.
That's probably a very good memory.
I rode my bike to school.
Oh, really?
And back every day in the
nice.
summer. And when I got to school, I was very wet.
Oh, really? So you ride bicycle
Yes.
every day? Wow.
我喜欢好身体.
Oh.
I'd like to stay healthy.
Yeah, it was a good exercise.
Yes,
Anyway,
yeah. In fact, I was the most fit I had been in years.
All right.
Living in Xiamen.
Which part of Xiamen did you live?
I lived on I was near Zhongshan Yiyuan, or
Oh,
the Zhongshan
Zhongshan.
Hospital.
Is that where
Dr.
the
Sun
headquarters
Yat-sen.
of Confucius Institute? Or?
Xiamen University is.
Okay.
Xiamen University is one of the Hanban's base. We call it is
Yes.
a base. Yeah, it's one of the branch.
That's amazing. How many people are there?
Well, they it's like a program. It was established based on the Chinese language program for teaching students from overseas, teaching Chinese as a foreign language. Or nowadays they call it teaching Chinese to speakers of other languages. So they established the base there, and Hanban invested with like people and materials. But they used the university-owned facilities to train the Chinese language teachers who are to be sent to teach abroad. They also trained co-directors, like Chinese side co-directors. That each Confucius Institute has a partner university back in China, and partner university will send a co-Chinese director to work with the American side director, jointly develop the Chinese Confucius program to promote Chinese language and culture here.
Oh, excellent. I was not that good at Chinese, so I met with a tutor every single day.
That's a
Your
very nice
Chinese is very
program.
good, yeah. Tutor from Xiamen University.
Yes, she was a tutor from Xiamen.
Is a program that you made the tutor every day?
Well, the thing is, I had class from 8 to noon.
Oh,
every
wow.
day.
For language, it's very intensive. How can you manage for 4 hours non-stop Chinese language learning?
Hey, I did it.
Well, that's why you speak such a good Chinese.
Nali nali.
Oh.
So, when I first started, they put me in the beginning, and I mean the absolute beginning class. There's people that there are classes that they may have had just a little bit of Chinese, but I was in the very beginning.
Oh, wow. So what kind of textbook did you use?
It's from the Beijing Languages.
Beijing Language and Culture University.
Exactly.
This is, yeah.
And there was a lot of books. There was the two main books for reading and writing was
Is that the Practice Chinese Reader? Oh, New Practice Chinese Reader?
It was in Chinese.
What do you think
It
of
was
the
in
book?
Pidgin.
So what do you think of the book? It's a good book?
It was a good book. In fact, that's what I used for my program that I've written to teach the framework to teach Chinese. I was using that as
You teach Chinese?
well. I have a program that is a framework that helps teach Chinese.
Oh, cool. Did you teach or did you learn listening, speaking, reading, writing all at once, or to start with the listening
All
and
at
speaking and
once.
follow up with the reading and writing all at once?
All at once.
That was very challenging.
And I did not do good at the listening, and listening was the hardest
But you
part.
write good Chinese characters?
I type pinyin,
Oh, right.
and I can type, I know maybe, 500, 1,000 Chinese characters, Hansa.
500,000?
No, 500 to 1,000.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
impressive.
And, when I go, I can read quite a bit of the Chinese, and I try to practice every day.
Do you know that if you know about 500 to 1,000 Chinese characters, you can boast that you know 3,000 to 5,000, because within 500 and 1,000 Chinese characters, you can make different combinations to constitute new meanings.
Yes.
So by
So
then
it's
you can
good
tell
to-
people you know probably 3,000 Chinese characters and different phrases.
So we always need to start from the basic, first several thousand words.
Right. The basic 1,000 that you can build up. Yeah.
While I was in China, I taught English, and what I find is I'm an engineer by trade, so I think of engineering in learning. And with English, it's very easy to learn basic English very quickly.
Uh-huh.
Just basic survival. But it's very hard to learn basic Chinese.
Oh, really? Which is the most difficult part of learning Chinese in your view?
For me, it was the hearing, the
Uh-huh.
listening,
The tones?
the tones.
That's probably the hardest part for most Americans.
Right.
Because when people are speaking fast,
Uh-huh.
you know, the tones disappear.
And do they have a dialect?
Oh, yes. And then there's dialects, which is why if you want to learn Chinese in China, you need to go to a place where there aren't many migrant workers, because I lived in an area that was a factory town
Uh-huh.
and total migrant workers.
Wow.
And so I couldn't hear, there was from all over. So there was no common pronunciation.
Did
No.
everybody speak a standard 普通话 Chinese?
No.
No.
他们发音不好.
Oh, then how can you manage to figure out what they're saying with the
That's-
dialect accent?
That's the problem. It was very hard for me. Sometimes when I talk to people, nothing. And other times, I understand them, and I carry on a conversation with them. And
We probably figure out you have the American accent overcome the other accent anyway.
In that part of China, in Xiamen, people speak Minnan dialects.
Yes.
Have you picked up some Minnan dialect?
it's funny, I lived with a family
Uh-huh.
that spoke Minnanhua.
Oh, wow.
And they wanted to teach me Chinese,
Uh-huh.
but their dialect was Minnanhua.
Oh,
So their
wow.
Putonghua had a very Minnanhua pronunciation and
Oh.
sound. So I said, well, no thank you.
Politely declined.
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to have
You
good-
probably now speak much better Chinese than your host family back in China.
They know more words.
But the pronunciation and tones may not be as good as yours.
That could be. From the little bit I do know,
Uh-huh.
I do practice, try to have a very standard Putonghua.
Nice.
Or standard Mandarin.
Nice.
Sounds good. A good environment is very important. Like we need to learn the standard Mandarin from Confucius Institute. You probably have more people that teach very standard pronunciations.
Yes, our teachers are all well trained. They all have several years at least teaching experience back in China, and they all have to pass the 普通话, the Chinese official language or standard language
Is
test.
that the H?
HSK,
Yeah.
that is one. Actually, there's also 普通话 test. They have to pass the 普通话level 1, 普通话level 2, and different levels. Then they have to pass the highest level. So people teaching at our Confucius Institute come from different parts of China, but they all speak beautiful standard Chinese.
Oh, excellent.
Without any accent. I'm so proud of them.
That's very nice.
So
Yeah.
I can let our students and future American students know that they should be
Have a good dialect. And and that's one thing I found when I went to China,
Uh-huh.
is, first of all, many people were surprised anyone could speak Chinese.
Uh-huh.
But when they do, if you are in a business situation or in a situation and your pronunciation is very standard,
Uh-huh.
they know that you're educated,
Yes, yes.
and so they, it's a much better environment.
Yeah, we have like 7 dialects in China, major dialects, like several hundred or maybe thousands of
Thousands.
dialects, but major ones are 7. And then 普通话 is based on the northern dialects and based in Beijing, Beijinghua. And then we have other 6 other dialects, and they, you go to different part, you hear people speak the dialects, but if you speak standard Chinese and people immediately respond to your 普通话 standard Chinese, that means that person is well educated. And people who have never been to school and never been educated, they don't know how to speak 普通话, and they have to communicate with the dialogue. It's very difficult. For me, it's like foreign language, even though we read the same thing.
Yes, and in fact, my company, I took all my employees on a vacation to southern China, one of our employees' hometown. And the other employees that are not from that area couldn't talk with anyone.
Oh, wow, really?
Because he was from
Which part you're thinking?
well, near Wuhan.
Oh, near Wuhan.
There are quite a few dialects. It's probably hard to understand.
So okay, that's where the person was from, but we went down to near Yuling, Guangxi.
Guangxi, oh, Guilin.
Guilin. No, Yuling.
Yulin.
Yuling. And so everyone was speaking with a Guangdong or Yuling accent
Oh, wow.
there. And, one time we got in a three-wheeler, Sanranche, and we couldn't say how to get back, so we just said, and I did better than he did because I practiced a lot of body language.
That's good, yeah. Sometimes, yeah, it works.
Yes, it does. So, and coming back to the Confucius Institute, when a person wants to learn Chinese, how hard would you say it would be to learn Chinese in America?
Well, a lot of people got stereotype thinking, and Chinese is the one
Hardest
of the hardest
language
to
in the
learn,
world.
and they are scared. And I teach Chinese at Portland State University. I'm my student in the master degree program, and most of them are taking beginning Chinese. And then in the beginning of the program, I always ask them this question: what do you think of Chinese language? And everybody tell me Chinese language is so hard. And I said, 很难. I said, what is the hardest part? They tell pronunciation, and then tones. And then Chinese characters. I know Chinese characters scare them away. But after a few weeks of learning the Chinese, they started to tell me, 老师, I mean, it's a teacher, I don't think Chinese language is that hard. I said, why? Because, after a couple of weeks, we can speak a lot of Chinese. I told them it's method that works. You think about the language is not hard, and you can pick it up faster. And we also emphasize the communicative method. In the past, people learn the language. You teach them the grammar and how to pronounce the certain words. And then when they try to speak a sentence, they think about the grammatical rules. And these hinder them from speaking fast and fluently. And I told them that, forget about the grammar. And beginning of the class, I told them Chinese language, Chinese grammar is the simplest of all languages.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Why are you saying that?
Because there is no conjugation. I keep telling I told my student when I was a child, when I was learning English, he said how hard it was, do you know? And we have to memorize all the different form of the verbs. And every time we go to the class, 老师 will ask me, stand up, memorize. Go, goes, when, gang, going, blah, blah, blah. I say, it's so hard. And then I told my student, all you need to know is just a
走
去
去
QU.
Yes.
And then
That's true.
Yeah, and then my student asked me, how do you don't have an ing form. It's not a tense, no conjugation. How do you express past events, past aspects? We say, well, that's very easy. Just use the particle le at the end of the verb. I say, wow, that's easy. They get so excited and they get motivated.
Yeah, good approach, get them motivated.
One of the things is like the, which is a possessive.
Yes.
And in the book, they had a big, long, official, explanation of it. And I just say it means possessive.
Yes.
And anytime you want to possess something, you put a da there. And it works.
Yes, but I also tell my student, every time you want to put a possessive, you put a de. However, if you put de all the time for any type of people, close or distant relations, family members, and people will think that you are a foreigner, you're not native Chinese. For instance, you talk about my parents, my father, mother, my siblings, you don't need to use
Right.
de.
With a close family and, girlfriend,
Right,
you don't
right,
need the,
yeah.
the possessive.
You use the, and people will think you're a foreigner. If you use the, people think you grew up and learn the language.
So it also depends on different situations.
Right.
Yeah. And time is always in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
You always say the time and then what happened at that time.
Right, yeah. So if you tell the student the differences between the sentence patterns and grammar, they can easily grasp the language.
I thought the Chinese grammar felt very natural to me.
Yeah, as a good teacher, you don't have to spend a lot of time explaining grammar or theory of the language, and people will get confused. In my class, I never spend more than 10 minutes for a 1 hour class. At most 10 minutes, most of the time just a few minutes, 5 minutes explaining the rules, and then get them practice. I told them that if you want to learn how to swim, you have to
Just jump into the water.
To try swimming. And learning Chinese is the same thing. I wanted to feel the language and practice. And after that, you tell me if you understand what I've explained. And if you say you do, that's it. And if you don't, we keep practicing until you understand. That's how we do it.
So how do you practice with each other?
Oh yeah, with each other, I give them lot of tasks. Even though for the beginning level, tasks can be simple tasks, can be complicated. Even say 你好，你好吗？你姓什么？你叫什么名字？你是哪国人？你在哪儿工作？ Yeah, those kind of things. Yeah, how do you do? How are you? What's your surname? What's your name? What's your nationality? These kind of things. If you just keep asking them, repeat, they feel bored. Briefly. So we use the classroom as different kinds of settings. We say, well, now the classroom is the airport, and you meet with someone.
Training.
Yes.
That's really good.
So they apply them in different situations. And in the second setting, we say, oh, this is your company. As a debriefing to your boss about your work. And then at the welcoming ceremony, or at the job interview, you need to introduce yourself or introduce someone else. So they put what they have learned, simple stuff, into different situations, and they think
So it's a very practical
they
program.
obtain it really
That's how I
fast.
taught English in China.
Oh, cool.
As a sideline.
Oh.
Do you have the English corner?
Yes, I had an English corner.
Oh,
Okay,
really?
so
In
people can
Xiamen?
practice with you.
No, in Shenzhen.
Oh, Shenzhen.
I lived in Xiamen for about 5 months, and then for about 2 years I lived in Shenzhen.
Oh, wow. As we call it, it's like a melting pot.
That's now you understand why I didn't learn much Chinese.
Oh, you can speak Cantonese?
I know about 2 things in Cantonese. Lei ho, which means hello, and Chong Chong Wo Ting Gui Lo.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope you don't feel offended.
Gui Lo means ghost in Chinese and in Cantonese. And that's what they call foreigners. And some people think it's derogatory. For me, I laugh because I am white.
Yeah. Don't take it seriously, and people just jokingly saying that.
Oh, yeah.
It's
You
in
know.
a humorous way.
So
And
how's the experience with the English corner?
oh, pretty good. And what happens is whenever I hear someone say Guelo or Lawai or, I say, Lawai Zai Nali, which means, where is there a foreigner? And they go, oh!
That's good, yeah.
So, I had a good time in China because I wasn't afraid to talk to people.
Now you can communicate with anybody anywhere in China without much difficulty.
I can survive in China. I will put my language at survival.
Good.
I would not be afraid to go anywhere in China.
Yeah.
to
Sounds
speak.
great.
Yeah, that's great. I think you have a large vocab.
So actually, Dr. Liu, I see there's a lot of programs from Confucius Institute. Some actually also have a Chinese corner program. So what do you think of that program? Can you tell us a
we
little bit?
try to combine the Chinese corner program with our weekly events like China-related lecture series. And from time to time, we invite China experts to come over to Portland State University to give a lecture. It's open to PSU community and the general public, and we want people through these lectures have a better and correct understanding of China's past and current events and future, and economic, politics, philosophy, society, and everything about China.
Sounds good. That's
Yeah.
it. So our last program, we had 2 business people from China.
Oh,
And, they were very high up in the business community. And we learned a lot about the culture of business in China and the culture of China relating to business, and then the business itself in China.
yes. If you want to do business, you want to make a profits, make money, and successfully doing business with Chinese people and Chinese corporations, you have to know Chinese business culture.
Yes.
And
co-author
policies.
The book is called the Anatomy of the Chinese Business Mind, and in the book, my student, a lot of people who don't know much about China, Chinese culture, and they learn a lot because a lot of protocols and courtesy things that you need to know. Yeah, and you make a culture mistake, you'll suffer
Yeah.
In fact,
financially.
let's have a toast. Okay? So what I do is right here, I put my glass under yours.
Yes.
And that is giving honor to you.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So that's one of the phenomenon of Chinese phenomenon, that you show your Chinese modesty, and you show your modesty, and you win the trust of Chinese people, and they think, oh, this person, is easygoing and very polite, and he understands the Chinese culture, and they are willing to do business. They want to know more about you, and they want to do business with you. But if you're showing you're arrogant, and you are condescending, and they will keep away from you.
Yes.
But talking about the courtesy, there are even a lot more different Chinese words to say courtesy words. I believe, Doctor, you probably know a lot. Say like the same words, like to say the same person at the same positions. It's probably different words.
Yeah,
to
we
say
have
that.
we have like one person. If we know one person, that this person has different phases. In his family, he may be a father,
Yeah.
and to his wife's eye, he is a husband. His children, he's a father, or his parents, his son. Right, to his sibling, he can be a younger brother, elder brother, and at the work unit, at the corporation, at the work unit, he could be a boss. He could be a Lao Zhang or Lao Wang, and co-worker. So different. 同事, yeah, 同事. So a person could be a social person, a family person, depending how you look at and where you
And also
associate with this person.
And also, if the situation is very formal or casual, it's also different terms.
We have, it uses different terms. And then in the formal circumstances, like we take Mr. Zhang again, we call him Mr. Zhang. And then if he has a title, he's the president of the corporation, we would like to call him President Zhang instead of Mr. Zhang. And if you don't know his position title, you call him Mr. So-and-so. And then if you are co-workers in a camaraderie way, you can just call him Lao Zhang, Old Zhang. And then if he's not that old, and you can call him Da Zhang, Big Zhang. And if he's young, you can call him Xiao Zhang, Little Zhang, Young Zhang. So one person, depending, in the situation and circumstances, you can use the different terms. Business settings, we always use a formal titles.
One thing I've noticed in the difference between the culture is the eating. In China, it's more group-oriented eating.
Yes.
Family style, we call
Yes.
it. And in America, it's more individualist.
Right.
And I think that's the family style is a very interesting social phenomena by which people can get to, it's a closer relationship, I believe.
Right. You cultivate like a sense of group and sense of together. unity. That's why you see in Chinese restaurant at Chinese families and dining table, most of them are all
Round table.
We call it a lazy
Susan. Yeah. So you can turn around instead of square or rectangle.
Right.
Yeah, so that it's easier for everybody to eat. And eating is not just for eating's case, it's for communicating. At family, you share.
Business.
Yeah, you share with what's going on today at work and at school. And then business settings, we always say banquet precedes business.
Yes.
And a lot of times, Chinese business people, during the eating, they can observe you and trying to
Learn about this person.
find out what kind of people
Well, I
they
hope
are
they don't
working
serve
with.
me noodles.
Oh,
Mientiao.
面条.
Because as an American, I went to a school where I had to eat a square meal.
Oh.
And
How
You
do
don't eat it like a
how do you
spaghetti?
handle noodles?
it was a military. And
Oh, really?
and so I eat with my head up.
Oh.
And so I get drool. I get stuff all over and so that's why,
Some people will tell you you're from military background.
So that's why I have to eat like this.
Yeah, a lot of times for noodles, people have to hold the bowl so that you can bring the noodle to your mouth easily. And if you do this, my goodness, it will keep dropping all over your
Yeah,
clothes.
that's what I found out.
Did you use chopsticks when you?
Yes. I learned to use chopsticks very early.
Uh-huh.
We had a Japanese foreign exchange student
Oh.
live with us for a year when I was in high school.
Uh-huh.
And he taught me how to use chopsticks.
You probably use the Japanese style chopstick with a pointed end at the one side, and Chinese style chopstick is both end is the same.
Yeah. I only use the Chinese style.
Chinese style, that's
You
good.
get used to it now.
Yeah,
Did you ever practice using chopstick to pick up beans?
Yes.
Peanuts?
I can even pick up 2 peanuts
Oh, wow.
between chopsticks and hold
That
them.
needs a lot of skills. A lot of Chinese cannot be able to do it. Wow, good for you.
Well, let me put it this way. I wanted to practice chopsticks.
Uh-huh.
And so by doing this, I honor the Chinese culture and I improve my ability.
Oh,
So,
So, Dr. Liu, are you going to develop a program that just asks people to practice chopstick start from picking up
yeah,
the
maybe we should think about at one of the Chinese corner we can do a competition. Chopstick using competition and pick up
the beans.
beans. And then, we have a prize for that.
I never got
Winners.
3.
You can, so now you can practice to see if you can pick up a 3 at the same time. But 2 is amazing already.
So, but that's one of the things that I tried to do in China is to become more acclimated, to become more integrated into the Chinese culture.
Oh, cool. Immerse yourself into Chinese culture.
Yeah, and not only the upper level culture, but I try to look at why the culture is there.
Oh, the grass level, from the grass level up.
Or taking the history
Uh-huh.
and trying to think about what the sociology was like in those times up to the modern time.
But is it changing over the years? I don't even know, like the grass level is always the grass level?
No,
How it's
no,
connected to the
no.
history?
Society is like a bowling ball, that it has momentum,
Yes.
and it's very hard to change the direction.
Oh.
And by using that theory, you can sort of say, well, in this situation, this is how people think and act. So in the next situation, they came from here, what would they think now?
Oh, wow. Yeah, so a lot of time you think about Chinese culture and why people behave the way they
Exactly,
do.
yes.
And you can always trace back to the history, and there's always reason why they do it.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So just like the program will teach about the Chinese history and start from Confucianism, is
Yeah,
the
we
school
not
teach
only
about
teach
that?
Chinese language, and we incorporate culture into the language because without knowing the culture, you won't go deep as you go learning to a higher level. You want to know why is that? Why we use polite form to certain people, and why we use nin to our parents, to people who are higher up, polite form, and why we ask people's age, older people and people of our generation and younger people, we use different terms. It's all culturally related.
Yes, yes, I found that
Yeah.
out. And that's one thing is that and the characters, if you study the history of the characters, like Bao, guard, okay, it's made up of a couple of symbols. First of all, you've got a roof, right?
Yes.
So a house, and you have a woman in the roof,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And then you have a mu, or a tree next to it, right? So a guard is someone who stands there like a tree next to the house.
Yes. Chinese characters, in the beginning, if you don't understand about Chinese character, you think it's really hard. But once you explain the logic, a lot of characters are very logical. Chinese, you have a 3 drop of water radical, and all the liquid of water is related, and 2 drops down, and then the 3rd drop go to the ground, and then splash up.
Yeah.
So it's 3 drop of water, and any characters that share this radical is related to water, and river, or sea, or ocean, and even ditch, and lake.
Yeah, that's very
and
good
even
way to
like
learn.
a liquid,
Yes.
lot of things. Soup. Yeah.
Soup.
Yeah. So very logical. Very logical.
Yes, yeah. It's just my memory's not that good.
So, Dr. Liu, do you think what is the best way to learn Chinese? I mean, like different parts, spelling, writing, and which one we should learn first, or?
Think about how we learn language. Did we learn how to speak first, and then follow up? We go to school, we learn how to read and write, right? And then I think for teaching the language to speakers of other languages, to foreign students or foreigners, we should follow the same rule. And if we teach adults the language, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and even translating all at the same time, and people will get frustrated. So how can you concentrate on what? On listening comprehension, or on speaking fluently, on reading and develop vocabulary, or on writing correctly? It's very hard. So we usually start with
Oral.
speaking,
Speaking.
developing oral skill. Follow up with the reading
For
and
me,
writing.
I liked the combination of all of
Oh,
them.
really?
Um,
Why is that?
How do you do it at the same time?
well, because I'm a very visual person,
Oh,
and for me, I relate a sound to a visual object, and that's how I remember.
I see.
And so for me, just hearing it, I forget it in seconds.
Oh, you have to see it.
I have to see it, and then when I hear it, I relate that to the visual. And then I say, okay, And there's 4 things you have to learn in Chinese, really.
What are they?
They're the pinyin.
Pinyin, yes, Chinese
There's,
romanization.
there's the hanzi, or the character.
Hanzi characters.
There's the meaning
Meaning.
and how to say it.
Oh, right.
So, for every word you learn, you have to learn basically 4 things.
I have a question for you. When you speak Chinese fluently, do you process do you process from English into Chinese? No.
No.
You just naturally
Yeah.
come out.
I lived in Germany, and
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
ein bisschen.
Oh.
Wir leben seit Deutschland 2 Jahre.
Oh, wow.
And if you noticed, I didn't say ich, I said wo. Because I've been learning Chinese, so I get my Chinese and German mixed up.
You have English, German, and Chinese together.
Yeah.
Yes.
But my daughters learned German,
Uh-huh.
and as such, they learned how to think in German.
Oh, wow. That's
And
impressive.
they basically said that's how you have to do it.
Uh-huh.
So when I was learning Chinese, I tried to think in Chinese. I didn't try to translate.
Uh-huh.
I tried to feel an emotion or see an object or, something non-English to remind me of that word.
Oh,
So maybe you do it frequently enough. You just have to think fast. So it's become a habit.
Yeah, well, that's why I need to practice too.
You need a
I'd like
faster
to invite you
processor.
to share your learning experience with our students at Confucius Institute someday, and share how you learn the language fast and at ease.
Well, one of the things while I was writing the program, I learned so much about the Chinese characters.
Uh-huh.
There's 37 strokes, and I can tell you there's 402 initials and finals.
Mm-hmm.
There's about 2,040 words with all the tones. There's 5 tones.
Wow.
Um,
You know so much more than a lot of native Chinese do.
So what if you have some abstract words that you cannot see?
I try to relate that to an idea.
That's good.
You mean use it in some situation?
Yeah, like I love,
Mhm.
I try to think of a situation there.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's
A
good.
xiang, miss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of time, if you connect, when you learn a character, you connect with other characters, it stimulates your brain and it help you remember the word faster. And for instance, when I teach Chinese character to my student, a lot of them, before I start introducing a new character, I will help them review the old one. And from the old one, you introduce the new ones. And a lot of times, I ask them to recognize the radicals. You know the radicals,
Yes.
you know the meaning. And then you know the other radical, the second part, then it give you the hint for the sound. And sometimes I give my student a character. I say, how many characters can you find out from this simple character? For instance, the Chinese character for guo, country, it's a big box. I have a king inside and the dot and the seal the box. So it's like a 4 borders and king and his bodyguard or maybe piece of jade. A lot of emperors
That's
like to wear
good
piece
imagination.
of jade. And then I told them, after they understand this word, they say, wow, that makes sense. Of course, the king lives inside the land, and then he wears a piece of jade, and inside character is the jade. We say, can you figure out how many characters you can find out from Guo? And guess what? They can find more than 10.
That's amazing.
They can.
Oh.
So from Guo goes to 10 small characters, and
Yes,
they review the other 10 or dozen character at the same time. Remember the new character they have learned.
There's
It's
a
very
new paper
effective.
written
Oh,
on teaching Chinese using that exact method.
oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. What's the? Do you remember the title of the
What's this about?
It's on my computer. Why do I need to remember it?
We just need to learn when you keep learning something new.
But what it did is it had the list of all the words
Uh-huh.
and the words that come off of it.
Yes.
And so you have this great big long, and they did a PDF of it of the top 3,000, 5,000
Right.
words.
So traditionally, you teach one word at a time, and now, I and one of the co-work faculty at Portland State University, we compile a textbook. It's called the Learning Chinese Characters, LCC, listening, speaking, reading, writing, typing, and translating Chinese characters. And we teach the student. We're using this method. We don't teach one word at a time. We teach a bunch of words at the same time. This bunch of words are all related. When we teach them box, a coal,
Coal.
and then all the words that related are with
Clay.
coal.
Can be
they
teach
come
at the same
out.
time.
So it's easy for them to remember, even though they don't remember how to pronounce each word correctly. But at least they can know, oh, this means this means that, and they can say, oh, I've seen that word, I've learned it. The next time they learn that word, it's easier and faster.
Very good way to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I've been downloading a lot of Chinese movies.
Oh, really? What's your favorite Chinese movie?
Mulan.
Oh, Mulan. Yes. Yeah.
Because the language
Uh-huh.
is simple enough and they speak slow enough, and there's gaps in between the speaking
Uh-huh.
where I can understand it.
So they're
And also the
speaking
story
Chinese?
itself is very attractive.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So they're speaking Chinese, or do you
yeah.
listen to English words?
No, I listen to the Chinese version.
I remember when I was a student back in China, we learned this 木兰，唧唧复唧唧，木兰当户织，不闻机杼声，惟闻女叹息，问女何所惜，问女何所，those kind of.
Yeah, Dr. Liu, you probably can make this as a American English test. It's probably going to be hard though.
One of the things that I think is interesting about the Chinese language is the 烤肉令.
What do you mean by 烤肉？
十四十四十.
Oh,
十四十.
绕口令，
绕口令.
tongue twister.
So I find it.
So I'll
That's
say
a new
English
way
and
of
you say.
saying it, I guess.
How about I say English, you say Chinese, and see how your tongue works. And 4 is 4, 10 is 10. 4 is not 10, 10 is not 4. 14 is 14, 40 is 40, 14 is not 40, 40 is not 14. Say
Wow,
that in
amazing
Chinese.
translation. Wow.
十四十. 十四十.
So that can, you keep practicing so that people can tell you are a southerner or a northerner, because in the southern
Yeah.
part of China, people don't pronounce
SH.
SH, CH, ZH. When they pronounce these three, they don't roll the tongue.
Yeah.
So everything is a s and pronounced around the T's. But in the north, they always roll the tongue to make a difference.
In fact, that's one of the first things I learned
Uh-huh.
in China. That's why that family,
Uh-huh.
they started trying to teach me Chinese, but I heard them say 四 for
They say yes?
yeah.
Okay.
That's right, that's right. Chinese people can figure out by the tone difference.
Yeah.
Right?
Or
And
maybe
then
the meanings
for,
too.
For foreign students who learn Chinese, it's very hard. Yes.
So those are the types of things. Okay, if you were to have one thing
Uh-huh.
that you can tell America or teach America, what would it be?
Say it again, for one thing, language-wise or anything.
For
Anything.
suggestions how they learn
Yeah.
Chinese?
Well, we'll break it down. One thing about China, the culture, or something about China itself that they should know, and something about learning the language they should know.
Oh.
We'll break it into two questions.
Oh, two questions. Culture-wise.
Yes, cultural-wise. What would you want? What do you think the most important cultural thing about China is that you want to tell Americans?
Well, group culture and harmony. Harmony and Chinese modesty. That will last long way. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Harmony?
very good.
Okay.
Harmony.
和.
和谐.
和谐.
Yeah, 和谐.
So why you pick
Yeah,
this
this
one?
can apply, harmony can apply like family members.
Right.
Harmony, harmoniously. Family members, your relationship with one another is harmonious. Then you can be united as a family, and you can do anything. Nothing is impossible if you have a united hearts. And at workplace, harmony also. If you don't, fight against one another or jealous of one another. Let's go. Everybody do one thing.
Teamwork.
Teamwork thing, yeah. Here we call it teamwork, and China we call it collective or 和谐. harmoniously, and you can accomplish your goal. And then as a country, you go harmoniously, there will be no war.
也就是你说的家和万事兴，
Yeah,
是
yeah,
像这
家和
个意思。
万事兴 we have a saying. How do you translate that? 家和万事兴.
If the family is harmonic, then everything goes well.
Yeah, everything goes well, and everything is prosperous. Everything is successful. Everything goes smoothly, and everything is what?
Good.
It's good. Yeah, yeah. That's how. Yeah.
Now, let's get to the second part of the question.
Uh-huh.
If there was one thing about learning Chinese
Uh-huh.
that you would tell Americans, what would that be?
I would like Americans who are learning Chinese to, first of all, have a thick face. You know,
Practice.
thick face in Chinese means don't be afraid, don't be shy, just practice and speaking. Don't your face is too thin. You're shy, or you feel embarrassed. You can never develop a fluent skill.
Well,
That's good suggestion.
Listen,
I
never.
remember how I learned English.
That's right.
Yeah.
you know, that's what I did on the subways and buses.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Everyone's looking at me anyway.
Uh-huh.
So even they laugh at you, you just have to say it.
Oh yeah, you know, and so I tried to talk to people, and there are many responses. There's about 3 different responses I got. So I talk to them and I try to communicate with them, and some of them I can communicate very easily. I don't, their pronunciation was good.
Uh-huh.
And, I just understood them. And other people, holy cow, I would have, they say hello, ni hao, and I don't understand them.
You don't understand when they say hello?
Well, when they say their pronunciation, their flying of ni hao was so strange
Weird.
that,
Ni hao. Cantonese?
no. So.
It's very different. Yeah, it's very different. Yeah, if you don't.
And that's one thing that happened in the 1940s and 50s is that the Chinese language became standardized across all of China.
Mm-hmm. They started learning Romanization as a spoken form of the language starting in 1956. And, I don't know if you remember, before that, we use traditional Chinese characters,
Yes.
a complicated form of Chinese characters. And Mao, the chairman of China at that time,
Mao Zedong.
Mao Zedong, he was kind of worried. He said, well, how can we teach our kids to learn language faster? How can we teach the foreigners to learn Chinese faster? These characters, some characters can have as many as 30 plus strokes.
Yes.
You keep writing forever.
Yeah,
And
that takes
he
a long time.
Has 22.
I know.
maximum.
He
Wow.
was instructing a group of linguists in China. He said, go try to reform Chinese language. How about following the trend of Romanization? Can we all use spelling Romanization instead of the Chinese characters? And group of linguists closed the doors and started doing research, and then they come up, report to Mao and say, it's impossible, Mao. Chairman Mao, why is it impossible? Because in Chinese language, the same character, the same pronunciation can be represented by many characters, and it's highly contextual. How can people figure out what you're talking about?
Yes.
So Mao said, well, we should not give up. At least, if you cannot replace characters with Romanization, at least you can simplify the characters. So that's why the character got simplified.
In fact, that's one of the things that I've thought about is how to Romanize the Chinese language.
Wow.
And because I come from a computer background,
Oh, yeah.
I use sort of computer concepts into doing it. But still,
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
It is impossible. I don't think so. Yeah.
And it is because the same character there are many sounds that have many different meanings, but they are all the same sound.
Right.
The same initial and final and tone.
Right. So there's a tongue twister is ma ma qi ma 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 niu niu qi niu 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 ning niu. So what does it mean? It all sounds very similar.
That's amazing.
If you write in pinyin, you cannot figure out. But if you write in Chinese character, you can figure out. Ma ma qi ma, mother is riding a horse. Ma man, the horse is slow. Mama mama, mama is scolding the horse.
Okay.
Niu niu qi niu, the girl whose name is Niu Niu is riding a cow. Niu niu, the cow is stubborn. Niu niu. Ning niu.
That's amazing.
Squeeze.
That's very good practice.
So if you do pinyin, people will be at a loss. What is it? What is it talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've got about 3 minutes left, and we probably should wrap this up. Do you have any last words? Anything to say? Any last words?
Well, I hope if you want to understand China better and you want to be a 21st century citizen, I encourage people to learn Chinese, or at least to understand the Chinese culture. And then if you're interested in learning the language, we have a lot of programs. You can learn it from online, and Confucius Institute also offer, we offer as many as 30 plus type of Chinese classes to different people in different levels, to adults, to K-12 school, to college graduate students, to anybody. And if you have a special need, we tailor your special need to make sure that we meet your need to reach your goal.
Excellent. So our show today, Dr. Meru, the head of the Confucius Institute in Portland, Oregon. We want to thank you for watching this show today, and you have a good night.
You have a good night.
Wan An.
Good night. Well,
Good night.
Sai Jin.
Thank you.
Thank you. 谢谢。
It's fast. It's fast.
Sure.